when people say, what's the one tool that you would use? Well, I guess it would be ChatGPT, or strictly speaking, ChatGPT Plus.
When we get to ChatGPT 10, right, is that a case of like the Alien and Star Trek movies where you go, computer, tell me, and it'll do calculations and it is more intelligent than the human race? Is that where we're heading?
And to add to that, should we be afraid, Andrew? We've all seen Terminator 2. Should we be afraid?
There's nothing wrong with a bit of fear.
Somebody out there working in a marketing agency, should they be worried? Are the jobs are going to go? I've heard of all. What do you think? What's your take on it?
Well, I kind of agree with Sam Altman of OpenAI. I mean, this is his line, which he's been touting for some time, which is that AI should be replacing tasks, but not jobs.
Welcome to Socially Unacceptable, from F***ups to Fame, the marketing podcast that celebrates the professional mishaps, mistakes and misjudgments while delivering valuable marketing and life lessons in the time it takes you to eat your lunch.
So welcome aboard episode 4. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. In today's podcast, we're tackling what is probably one of the most talked about topics in marketing, artificial intelligence, and not just marketing, in business in general. It's all over the media. And to do this, we're lucky enough to be joined by one of our favourite and foremost experts in this area, Mr. Andrew Bruce Smith. Good morning, good afternoon. Sorry, Andrew, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's okay. We won't talk about the massive technical f*** up that we've had at the beginning of the show. The show is about f*** ups, but we'll move on. I'll just give a little bit of a brief overview of you. Andrew is a renowned expert in artificial intelligence and its application in communication, social media, SEO, and analytics. Over the years, he's strategically, which is a hard word to say, integrated AI into digital comms programs for one of the world's largest brands, which I'm sure he'll want to talk about. In 2018, the CIPR hailed him as one of the greatest PR thinkers. Now, how's that for an accolade, Andrew?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Does that give you an inferiority complex, Will?
It does a little bit, yeah, if I'm honest.
Currently, Andrew provides training and consultation in AI, integrated social media, analytics, SEO, and digital marketing for the CIPR, the Media Trust, the Incorporated Society of British Advertisers, Understanding Modern Government, and the SMI Group. He also co-wrote the CIPR's Guide to Ethics in AI, which I have read, which I have read. We'll edit that. Which I've read. I did not write it. Up number 2.
Oh dear. Well, that is certainly an impressive biography. I need to start working on my own, I think, actually. Coincidentally, Andrew and I actually spoke at the same conference a few weeks ago in London, talking about social media marketing and AI in higher education. So I'm quite keen to kind of dig into some of the themes we discussed there too. So welcome to the show, Andrew. Have we missed anything there with your rather extensive biography?
No, that's fine. That's enough about me. That's enough about me.
It's not actually. I'm quite interested to hear a bit about you, Andrew, because we've known each other for quite a while. You've done we've had you at a couple of training days, and I've attended quite a few. We've attended similar things. We both spoke at the CIPR's event years ago, because I believe you were a co-author of Share This Too, like I was. You wrote the bit on analytics. Is that right?
That's right. In fact, I had 2 chapters. Greedy me. One on analytics and one about network analysis. That was 10 years ago, about the power of networks and kind of using kind of AI and data and all that good stuff. So been boring on about it for a very long time.
So just walk me through how you because you were a journalist when you started, weren't you?
It is true. I can't quite believe it myself, but my career began in 1985. That's nearly 38 years ago. OMG. Yes, I did. I started as a journalist writing for a very, very auspicious trade magazine, the Retail News Agent, Tobacconist and Confectioner, or Sweetie and Fag Weekly, as it was known. So that's my humble beginnings as an editorial assistant on said title. Absolutely. And let's be honest, when I started my career as a journalist, the acronym PR I thought stood for proportional representation. I had absolutely no idea this whole industry existed, allegedly, to make my life as a journalist that much easier. My most useful piece of technology, I have to admit, back in the mid-'80s, was a metal spike that you put all the press releases on that you thought were rubbish. So every morning you get like 200 press releases in the post, And then I get 198 of them and plonk them on the spike because they weren't very good.
They've probably been from us, to be fair. No, not back in the day, but
not in the mid-80s, I don't think so.
No, I wasn't around then. That's
exactly.
Mid-80s, is that how long back it goes? You do, mate, you look like you've got the best beard in public relations, I'd say.
Well, it's got grey in it, and you won't. Yeah, I got my OAP bus pass a few weeks ago because I turned 60. So there you go.
Mate, you don't look 60, trust me.
You got the check. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll
So from journalist to AI then. So talk to us about that.
Okay. So if I've been in 38 years of journalism, PR, whatever, I like to say that I've had an interest in AI for 42 years. Because I started university in 1981 studying English literature and philosophy. I was your classic arts graduate, but I had a mate who was doing computer science, and he gave me this book. It's called Gödel, Escher, Bach. It was written in 1979 by a guy called Douglas Hofstadter. It's still today regarded as the Bible of artificial intelligence. It won a Pulitzer Prize. And I have to confess, I read it and it blew my mind back then. And I've had that lifelong interest in AI ever since. And in fact, when I moved into working in PR, late 1980s, I was working for a tech PR firm. One of the clients was a software company called Ball International, famous at the time. And they had a programming tool called Prolog, which was one of the very, very, very early AI programming tools. And I thought, this is brilliant. I'm going to start creating AIs in the late 80s. Of course, I didn't. A, because I can't program for toffee, and B, of course, it wasn't fit for purpose. So, I mean, AI as a term, I think originally got coined in the late 50s. John McCarthy's a famous conference where it was bandied around then. And every decade since, there's always been a kind of a peak and hype of interest in AI, and it all fell away. So this term, AI winter, gets used quite a lot. The idea that it's gonna do stuff, and then of course it never did. Of course, this time it kind of is different. But yes, I've always had that interest in AI specifically, and also just technology generally, and specifically technology in its application to PR and comms. I've bored people rigid for best part of 30 years because I was allegedly the second person in Britain to send a press release by email. That was 33 years ago.
What an accolade.
Yeah.
33 years ago.
So 1990. And there were about 5 journalists who had email addresses, one of whom was the late, great Jack Schofield, who was the tech editor at The Guardian for a very, very long time.
Yeah, remember that.
And Jack, completely unprompted. So, of course, people say, well, you were second. Well, who was first? And it's...
Who was it?
Frank Amani, good chum of mine now. He was the PR manager for Apple UK in 1990. So he beat me by about 10 days. So he sent the first one, and I sent the second one to Jack Schofield and 3 or 4 other tech journalists who had email addresses at the time. And then Jack Schofield, completely unprompted, about a month later, wrote this piece saying that Frank and I were pioneering this new approach of sending press releases electronically. And it's like, wow.
Wow.
Yes, he regretted writing that, of course, years later. But So it was actually Jack Schofield that tipped me off to this crazy thing called the World Wide Web in 1994. And, it took a bit of technical competence to be able to figure out how to actually download the software and lots of other gubbins, and wrote a couple of lines of HTML and thought, there's something in this. This is the
information superhighway.
There you go. Absolutely. Those are the days.
So what's changed with AI? So there's been various AI winters over the years. You've kind of had a continued interest in it. Why now has it reached tipping point?
Well, how long have we got? I mean, there's I think a couple of reasons. I mean, first of all, it quite simply computing power and the application of certain techniques. We've all heard the concept of, or we've heard the term machine learning, which again is not exactly new, but what hadn't been available until, I guess, the last 10, 15 years was the computing power and the data to actually do that kind of or apply that kind of process in anger. I mean, you look at sort of the use of AI, for example, for content generation. I'm sure we'll get onto this in detail in a minute. But if you go back 10 years, you had tools like Wordsmith, which, early tool for using AI to help create content. The Associated Press began using that about 10 years ago. They've been using it ever since. They've probably churned out hundreds of thousands, possibly approaching millions of articles using AI. And who's noticed? Probably nobody. So that's not new. But it's really a combination of the compute power and I guess the expertise in AI research. And it's still admittedly a tiny, tiny number of people that really do have that actual kind of genuine AI expertise and competence. But also just the techniques. I mean, where large language models, for example, are all using a technique developed by Google, the transformer technology, which their researchers effectively gave away for free in 2018. And OpenAI and everybody else went, oh, thanks very much. We'll have that. And
that's the T, isn't it?
That's the T of GPT, generalized preform transformer. It's about 200 lines of code. I mean, it's crazy to think that a relatively tiny amount of computer code has formed the basis for this quite revolutionary approach to language models and content generation, etc. So to answer that question, it's a combination of factors. So it's not as though it's fallen out of the sky last November. Though I think to most people on the planet, it kind of feels like that. Suddenly it's here. Yeah. This has been a long time coming. And again, developments like the transformer approach in 2018, that's clearly had a big effect. Because again, who would have thought that treating language as a statistical and probabilistic distribution problem was the way forward? Whereas decades before, you were trying to, how do we build machines that basically think like us? We were trying to kind of mirror the human brain. And progress was very, very, very slow. And then suddenly you go, well, let's just treat it like this. And it's like, oh, who knew that can be an unbelievably effective way of getting a machine to basically generate, in this case, text and language that we kind of find quite useful.
But I suppose, right, so Will and I have been talking about this. I've read various things on AI, massively into it. The thing about it is, you apparently say that you don't think AI is that intelligent yet. Whereas I would disagree with that slightly from what I have heard. So AI, I get your point, because AI is generative. The generative AI side of it guesses the words based on trillions and trillions of documents and letters and things online that it's read up to September 2021, I believe. And then it predicts what the next word should be using its neural networks to predict what the next word should go in front of the next word. And it produces amazing content, the generative stuff, which is the thing that's made it look really, really clever. But really, it's like gambling or guessing. It's guessing its way through some content once you've given it a prompt.
If you be pedantic, what it does is it takes the words and letters, paragraphs that you input into it, breaks them down to so-called tokens, bit of jargon that people are going to be familiar with. So OpenAI has a little free tool that says put the text in and we'll show you the tokens we create. So that could be a single word, it could be a single letter, it could be a part of a word. All those tokens, those parts of words or whatever, get converted into numbers. So underlying it all, it's simply analyzing numbers and statistical relationships between integers, between numbers. And then those get output, reconverted back into the symbols that we then read, and then we interpret it. I kind of hear what you're saying. I made reference to the book Gödel Escher, Douglas Hofstadter, and every now and again he sort of pops up because people interview him saying, you're the sort of the grandfather, if you will, of AI. What do you think? And consistently for the last 40 odd years, he said, well, this idea of AI becoming sentient, he said, it's never going to happen in my lifetime. And then rather alarmingly, I think it was last week, he was interviewed by the New York Times, and he's gone, oh.
Yeah,
I'm not quite so sure anymore. Now, he's not saying it's going to get sentient tomorrow or next year, but he and clearly others like Jeff Hinton from Google and sundry other people are clearly revising their opinion about how quickly that may get to us. Now, I'm not saying, as I say, it's going to be in 2 or 3 years' time, but certainly their view was, it's not going to happen in hundreds of years. And now it's kind of like, well, you know what? Maybe it's possible. It's not as unlikely as they thought it was, even a few years ago.
So 5 or 6 developers have left the AI department of Google and have been doing the tours because they're worried that it's not being done ethically and correct. And I've listened to some of the podcasts and interviews and read some of the articles that they've written about, and they're saying that if you think that ChatGPT 3.5 was good, ChatGPT 4, I have to keep saying that, is 10 times more intelligent than 3.5, and already it is as intelligent as Albert Einstein. That is in the space of 6 months. So where is it going to be in the space of 3 years? That's the bit that is, I think, people where you start to go, hang on a minute. And that's why people have started walking from Google saying, this isn't being done for ethical purposes. This is being created for monetary benefit, because if we don't do it, and to add to that, Facebook this week, Meta, let's use the, has launched its version now as well, hasn't it?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things to say about that. I mean, first of all, I agree. It is disturbing that literally every single one of the big tech firms since the turn of the year have either completely removed or at least drastically downgraded their internal AI ethics teams. Microsoft had a team of 50 people. It's now down to like 2 people and a dog. Personally, I don't think that's a very good signal to the world that says, do you know what?
No.
We've gone back to this idea of ask for forgiveness, not permission. Arguably, Google have acted very responsibly to date because, in a way, they've led the way in AI for a very, very long time. In principle, they themselves could have released a Chat GPT type product a couple of years ago. They chose not to because they said, look, this is powerful stuff. We want to be responsible about this, and we want to make sure we've got the guardrails in place. OpenAI released ChatGPT, and as I understand it, actually virtually everyone at OpenAI didn't really want to put it out there, not because they thought, "Oh, it's gonna be sentient," but they just didn't think it was any good. But allegedly, Sam Altman, CEO, overrode them and said, "Nah, stick it out there." So they had no idea about how the world will respond to the release of ChatGPT into the world, but clearly it's taken off like wildfire. Google, it would seem, sitting there going, crap.
Yeah.
All right.
Quick, get Bard out. Get Bard out.
Let's get the ethics guys in and let's tell them that their services are no longer required because, well, when push comes to shove, it's a race. It's now effectively become a race.
It's an arms race. It's an AI arms race, isn't it?
Correct. Yes, that's how it feels from the outside.
Okay, my question for you then, Andrew. First one. So for marketing people, comms people, marketing people using this, which is better? Because I've got questions for you from both ChatGPT and Bard, and you can decide which is the better interviewer. Of the two, if you had to go on a date with which one's more intelligent? Sorry, I don't know if that's come out right. Which one's more intelligent, would you say, and more useful to marketing people?
Okay, so just to make things complicated, of course, patently, it depends on what kind of date you're looking for. I'm a consultant, so it depends. Why restrict it to just GPT versus Bard? Why not throw Claude into the mix? Claude 2 came out last week, and for the first time, Claude 2 is freely available to anyone who wants to try it out. If it's just between GPT and Bard, then I have to say on most kind of criteria, then GPT does seem to be superior to Bard.
But Bard's updated 2 weeks ago, isn't it? It's like the last couple of weeks, whereas GPT's out of date. Yeah,
they're all being refined. I mean, well, there are a couple of things. If you take ChatGPT Plus, which has all the various plugins, the release of the code interpreter plugin, rather it was announced in March, but now everyone who's paying the $20 a month can get the code interpreter. I mean, that I do think is genuinely kind of mind-blowing. You give it a spreadsheet of data. You don't even have to tell it what it is. It works it out, and then it analyzes it for you. It's like having a pretty decent data analyst on tap 24/7. I mean, just some sort of simple things that I've experimented with. I said, well, look, there you go. There's a data set, and it analyzes it. And I said, is there anything in that data set that you think might interest a journalist? And it says, sure, here you go. Here's some suggestions. And you kind of just keep having that conversation with it. And eventually you get to the point where you go, well, can you just draft a press release based upon the insights that you've gained from that data? That took about 4 minutes.
So on that, Andrew, actually, I'm keen to take a bit of a step back. As marketers, then, should we be interested? Should we care about AI? You know, there's an awful lot of talk about it, but I'm also aware as marketers, we exist in a bit of a bubble. So should we be using it? And if so, how should we be using it?
Well, I think the short answer is yes, in my humble opinion. I think there was a survey done earlier in the year. I think it was a PRCA survey, global survey, and they interviewed a few hundred senior PR people. And I couldn't believe the result, which said that allegedly 1 in 4 senior PR leaders said that they would never use AI. Never. I'm thinking, well, are you close to retirement? Are you who do you work for so we can avoid? So I think having nothing to do with it is not an option. Patently, you need to do something. That, of course, and that is the thing that's vexing everybody. Well, where do you start? When is it appropriate to utilize AI? Just because I can do something, should I do it? What about the transparency with clients? We tell clients using AI, well, you probably should. Is that enough? Do you need to tell them the tools you're using? Do you need to tell them exactly when you haven't used it? I've done a lot of many sessions now with agencies since the turn of the year around this topic. And the thing that comes up a lot is this idea of and PR is no different to the legal profession or the accounting profession, charging by the hour. What happens when clients say, well, hang on, why are you charging me for 4 hours of time? Shouldn't you just take 10 minutes now? Why aren't you using AI to do it? And I'll pay you for 10 minutes. I'm not paying you for 4 hours.
I look forward to that conversation.
I've got the report from the State of PR Technology, which was from Powerly. And the question was, how confident do you feel in your ability to use AI for PR tasks? And it says satisfaction scores at 47% are confident in using AI for PR tasks. So that's for PR. So, but for marketing people in general. So give us, what are you sort of 5 key AI tools, or do you just use GPT? Because we've got a couple of tools here that we're using. In fact, I saw you using a transcript tool for the Teams call that we're on now. That's AI transcripting that. This podcast has its title done by AI. It's everywhere.
Yeah, let's dig into those applications. So what are you seeing in your hundreds of conversations with marketers? How are people actually applying AI, and what tools are they using to do it?
I think when they are applying it, it's still in a relatively kind of crude way. That's no disrespect to them, because, of course, let's not forget, ChatGPT appeared last November. We're talking about 7 or 8 months of a time period where more has happened in 7 months than probably in the last 10 years. So it's understandable that we're human beings just trying to wrap our heads around the speed of development, the raft of new things and shiny things that are able to kind of play around with. But to kind of break it down, and if you stick just with the kind of the generative kind of AI aspect of things, of course, for creating content, totally. There's a whole variety of ways in which you might use it to support the creation of content. Although I think there's people have to guard against, for example, just pushing the button and going, great, that'll do. I'll just take what it gives me. Rather than, look, the human being still has to have the final say-so about, oversight about the quality of what it produces, clearly from a fact-checking standpoint, as that lawyer in the States found to his cost. He used GPT for some court filings. Of course, it made a whole bunch of stuff up, so now he's been fined, I think, $5,000 and possibly faces disbarment. That's just lazy. So kind of little sympathy around that one. But again, the temptation, I guess, for people working in PR, comms, and marketing to say, let's push the button and just take what it gives us. But
Andrew, have you used Copilot at all? Microsoft's obviously is part of an investment in OpenAI.
Well, only a privileged group of companies are on the beta program. I've talked to a couple who are, but no one's yet had the full 9 yards yet of the whole kind of Copilot thing. Although I noticed today that they've announced the pricing for it. So basically, it's $30 per person per month is the premium.
Wow.
Do you want to explain exactly what it is and what it does for our listeners?
I think the simplest way to look at it is Microsoft are going to add AI to every single one of their existing products. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, you name it, they're all going to have AI capabilities. But I think even more interestingly, it's the idea. Well, they say it's going to do this. We'll see whether it does or it doesn't. But they produced a promotional video back in, I think it was March, and if it does half of what that promo video claims it's going to do, it's totally going to change everything. I mean, the notion of having all this stuff kind of interconnected. So you get, I've just talked about code interpreter with ChatGPT. Well, what if that's already in Excel? I don't need to go anywhere. It's already there. What about Word having AI capabilities? I don't need to go separately somewhere else to do it. It's just there. It's just it's just available to you. Well, clearly for a price which appears to be $30 a month per person. I noticed their share price apparently is now hit an all-time high because investors think, yep, they've hit the gold mine here, because how many people are going to resist paying the $30 to get access to this very, very powerful additional capability?
It's a lot, isn't it? Extra $30 each.
Well, I guess do the calculation on the back of an envelope, and you start to think about the potentially tens of billions of extra revenue that may come their way as a result. We'll see how that pans out.
Imagine having Copilot in Outlook, right? So all of a sudden you've got emails from customers asking you, say you're working in a consumer B2C sector, somebody sends in a complaint, you click Copilot and Copilot writes a response.
Well, I have seen one live example of Copilot, because interestingly, Microsoft released a tool called Clarity a couple of years ago, which was sort of a kind of a hybrid of kind of Google Analytics and Hotjar. And you kind of think, why is Microsoft releasing an analytics tool, a web analytics tool? Aren't they? They're a bit late to the game, aren't they? Yeah. So I installed it and kind of forgot about it. And then it was about a month ago, somebody said, "Oh, you should have a real look at Clarity." I said, "Why?" She said, "Because it's already got Copilot in it. They haven't really jumped up and down and told people, but it's there already." I thought, great, I'm going to check this out. So Copilot in Clarity, and you'll get a sense of what's coming. So before Copilot, sure, you go in and, there's a bunch of numbers telling you how many people viewed a page, blah, blah, blah. There might be this kind of analysis of an individual user. Oh, look, their cursor's moved around the page and there's the heat map. This is where they kind of lingered around. And that's all fine and dandy, but if you imagine you've got like sort of, even 100 different sessions. A human being's not going to sit there wading through individual sessions to work it out. Copilot takes that and basically explains it to you in words that a 5-year-old will understand. So it would say, hey, this user you should pay attention to, because from the data, it seems fairly obvious that they're a potential prospect, because we'll tell you which pages they're lingering on and what we can infer from that. Can we infer from that they are displaying the behavior of someone that is more likely to be a paying customer than somebody else? So that's where the penny dropped. It's that idea of taking data that we were already capturing, but rather than the human being having to sit there and go, right, what is this telling me? The AI kind of figures it out for you. It does that analysis. So when you extend that to everything else, then it starts to get really interesting. I mean, just to go back to kind of the use cases of AI in PR and comms.
Some practical tips would be good, I think.
Think about it from the perspective of, let's say you're an agency and you're pitching for a new client. So, how would you normally go about? Well, you're going to gather information, aren't you? Well, what if you gather all that information and then simply give it to the AI and say, hey, AI, you are a master creator of winning pitches for PR business. Given all this background information we've given you, give us your sort of first pass recommendation of what to go back to the client with. And it will come back with a first pass recommendation. And my experience today is it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. The gating factor to date has been the so-called context window, a little bit of jargon. So the context window is literally the kind of short-term memory of the AI. You know, how much information can I input to the system? How much do I get back? So GPT, when it launched last November, had a context window of about a couple of thousand words. So, you know, it's quite a bit, but you couldn't put in, 10,000 words of background information because you wouldn't do anything with it. GPT-4, expanded its context window. So we're now up to about 20,000 words or so. But Claude, which I mentioned earlier, Claude 2 has a 100,000 token context window. We're talking, 75,000 words, and it can handle spreadsheets, file formats. So get everything, documents, put it in the hopper and go, right, there you go. I've given you all the background information and I want you to output, a 20,000 word initial recommendation. And it's going to go away and do it.
So, okay. So an agency owner out there, or an agency employee out there, somebody out there working in a marketing agency, should they be worried? Are the jobs are going to go? I've heard of all. What do you think? What's your take on it?
Well, I kind of agree with Sam Altman of OpenAI. I mean, this is his line, which he's been touting for some time, which is that AI should be replacing tasks, but not jobs. And I kind of totally buy into that. Now, it may well mean that the nature of certain jobs are going to have to change. And this comes with a lot. I mean, particularly, for example, junior employees in PR firms sitting there going, well, does that mean I have a job? And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. But quite frankly, if you have a job where every single one of your tasks can be replaced by AI, well, what kind of job have you got in the first place? Versus, I would say the smarter agency owners will go, we need to reorient the nature of that role. If we're going to take all these tasks away from you, we're going to utilize your time in a different way. With an optimistic hat on, I see it as an opportunity to kind of upskill people more quickly in things that you may have in the past. I said, well, you've got to sort of do a couple of years first, doing all this stuff that quite frankly nobody else wants to do, but it has to get done. And it's historically been more efficient to get a human being to do it. But now, will the AI do all that kind of mundane rubbish, and you can focus on being more creative? How about teaching people commercial skills from the day they start, rather than waiting a couple of years until they get. So I'm just kind of speculating here.
Where should we start then? We've talked about an awful lot of AI tools. We've talked about various applications. I know a lot of listeners are going to think, right, we need to get on this. Where do we start? Is there one tool in particular we should check out?
Well, I mean, that's part of the challenge. But by some estimates, there have been about 20,000 new tools released. But in reality, the vast majority of them, they're not really tools. They're features, or they're just kind of clever wrappers around existing, APIs. So it's just putting a nice wrap around access to, say, the GPT API. When people say, "What's the one tool that you would use?" Well, I guess it would be ChatGPT, or strictly speaking, ChatGPT Plus, because of the plugins, because that augments the capability of the core ChatGPT tool. There are about 150 plugins now that do a whole variety of different things. Plus, you've got the code interpreter, etc. So if you're going to pick one, that might be it. Conversely, because that has it quite pricey, isn't it? It's $20 a month. It's fine. It's just one of you, but if you've got 100 people, well, 100 times 20, you can do the maths. That suddenly starts to add up. And of course, it's all very well giving people access to it, but there are no rule books. Have any of the AI companies produced any kind of documentation or guidelines as to how to use it? The short answer is no. I mean, to be fair, OpenAI a few weeks ago did publish their guidelines to creating better prompts, and it's quite good, and I'd suggest everyone should go and have a look at it. But again, it's at a very, very sort of, understandably, it's kind of very high level, as opposed to, well, who's written the kind of the these are the 50 sort of prompts you should start with in PR and marketing. Well, that hasn't been done yet. Or if people have tried it, the danger is that it may be appropriate in certain contexts, but not in others. There's no way around it, really. The only way is you learn by doing. It's only by interacting with the tool, the technology, you'll start to figure out yourself what to do. But the question of where to start, because it's quite fundamental. And if you're an agency, then it goes back to kind of rock bottom basics. What are the kinds of organization, the clients that we're trying to serve? Let's examine our existing portfolio of services. Let's examine all of our different workflows. How do we do things now, currently? How do any of those processes, can they be augmented, or parts of those processes entirely replaced with AI? It's kind of process analysis. But I think for me, the more exciting thing is that's basically saying, look, here's what we already do, and can we make it sort of cheaper, quicker, etc. Versus, might there not be entirely new ways of doing things that we haven't even thought of yet that AI technology now makes possible? And I don't know on that one, but I can't believe there aren't going to be kind of brand new ways of approaching things.
So the call to action then is basically go off and play around with the free version of ChatGPT 3.5, or pay for the plus version 4, which is more up to date. Now, and you're paying the extra $20 a month to get access to newer data, right?
Well, you're getting access to GPT-4, because you don't get 4 in the free version. Also, in the free version, half the time you can't even get in because it'll say, sorry, it's overloaded, come back later.
Yeah.
So if you want some kind of reliability of access, well, I think the $20 and it's a difference between having a career and not. I think that's a price worth paying.
My question to you then is, so obviously it's I think we said it was 10 times more intelligent. 4 is 10 times more intelligent than 3.5. When we get to ChatGPT 10, right? Is that a case of like the Alien and Star Trek movies where you go, computer, tell me, and it'll do calculations and it is more intelligent than the human race? Is that where we're heading?
And to add to that, should we be afraid, Andrew?
We've
all seen Terminator 2. Should we be afraid?
There's nothing wrong with a bit of fear. I'm not complacent. But again, there's a whole bunch of things going on here. In fact, there's a piece I think today in the FT about the fact that the AI companies are basically running out of data to train their models on. It's kind of, well, once you've scraped the entire internet and sort of pillaged every last existing set of data, and you still need more, where are you going to get it from? Well,
they're going to speak to each other.
Correct. You get
train each other.
You get the AI to synthesize and create its own data. It's interesting. Demis Hassabis, who's the CEO of Google DeepMind, which is a Brit, and if you hear him, I'd never heard him speak before, but he if you close your eyes, I thought he sounded like Jules Holland. I mean, what's that got to do with anything? But
he's got a piano.
He didn't at the time. But what fascinated me with Demis, well, first of all, I mean, he is number one person now at Google. He's in charge of all AI. So, DeepMind is famously focused on solving kind of AlphaGo, and it's been far more focused on more scientific use of AI. But they've gone, right, you're going to run everything. And he was talking about how DeepMind had been used to solve this problem in kind of protein folding. What do I know about this? It's obviously very complicated, and until now, they were saying, look, it would take a PhD student like sort of 5 years to kind of figure out one protein. And there's like hundreds of millions of them. At that rate, it's going to take us thousands of years to figure these problems out. Along comes AI, and it's done it in a year, a whole lot. And there, as he pointed out, the original data set they had to work with wasn't very big. So that was an example where they used synthesized data to create the additional data, but then they didn't use all of it. They kind of took what they regarded as kind of the top 30% of the synthesized stuff put that back into the model, and then kind of went on from there. I know it seems kind of, people hear the word synthesize, say, well, is this making stuff up? And it kind of is, but from the perspective of, but does it actually result in getting kind of the right answer popping out the other end? Then it would seem to be that is a technique that can work in certain circumstances.
Presumably, there's quite an impact on search, is there, of AI? And I know this is something you spoke about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I mean, ironically, we've all been affected by AI in search for nearly a decade. Google famously introduced RankBrain into its search algorithm back in 2015. So this is where AI is making decisions about what it shows you on that result page. You do a search, you see the search page, and it's an AI that's kind of taking lots of those decisions about what it's going to show you. And a couple of years after that, the engineers who built RankBrain were quite happily saying, yeah, we built it, but we've no idea now how it arrives at the decisions it makes. And they didn't seem too bothered about it. They said, well, quite frankly, users aren't upset. It seems to be doing its job. So yeah, it's a bit of a black box now, but crack on. So there's that part of it. But the more practical impact now of ChatGPT, of course, is that now that Microsoft introduced an AI chat box to Bing, Google have gone, we're going to do that as well. And I guess the challenge there is that, as we've seen with search over the last several years, the rise of so-called no-click searches. This is the idea that you do a search and the answer, if you will, to your query is right there on the search result page. So, I don't need to click to go anywhere else. So, if I produced an amazing piece of content and it's sitting at position number 1, no clicks for you because Google has effectively kind of removed that traffic from you. When they put that search box, that AI chat box at the top of search, well, you can see what's going to happen. People will go there first. They'll put in their query. They'll get an answer back. And will it make any reference to where that content came from? Well, all indications are at the moment, it won't. And even if it did, how many people actually go, oh, yes, well, I can see it's referenced 10 different underlying sources. I really must check them all out. I don't think so. People will go, great, that'll do. I'll take that. Thanks very much.
So totally game changing potentially for the search industry and online PR industry.
For everybody. I mean, for SEO, if as I say, what's the point of being number 1 in Google if it's still not going to generate any traffic for you? It will, but the amount of traffic that you will get in the future compared to what you would have had in the past by occupying those top slots, well, it's a bit of a moot point, isn't it? We can see with the big media publishers are also saying, well, hang on a minute, why we're creating this content which you, Google, are scraping and indexing, and we maybe certain publishers still didn't like the fact that they were scraping it, but that was the bargain they had to strike because Google was still the biggest driver of traffic to media sites. But what happens now if Google scrapes your content, uses it to feed its AI model, gives you back an answer on the search result page, and doesn't send you any traffic in return for doing it?
Snippets.
It's like, well, hang on a minute, why are we bothering? Why? Maybe you will see publishers now tell Google's crawlers to where to go and say, no, we're not going to let you. Then again, some of the big publishers are starting to negotiate deals with I think OpenAI have opened up negotiations to basically pay publishers to allow them to take that content to fuel their AIs. But yeah, search, like most things in the modern world, it's going to be impacted in some way by AI.
So does this expose various ethical issues for us as marketers then? Where should we, what considerations are there when it comes to ethics then? I know you've written extensively about this topic.
Yeah.
Can I actually, before you go there, I can read the 4 points that I asked ChatGPT to do a synopsis on it. And here are the key takeaways from the document, according to it. So this is the document, the CIPRs policy on AI in PR, the guides basically. And it says AI should be used in supplement human judgment, not replace it. Is that accurate? PR professionals should be aware of the potential biases that can be introduced to AI systems.
Absolutely.
AI should be it wasn't biased when it wrote this. AI should be used in a way that upholds the values of the PR profession, such as accuracy, honesty, and transparency.
Yep.
And then this one, which was interesting to me, and this is probably the one that Will was getting at. PR professionals should take a leading role in the ethical development of AI in the PR industry. Okay, that's a great aspirational point to put in a document. How the hell could I have any impact? How can us three collectively have any impact or ethical control over what ChatGPT are doing, Bard are doing, Luma are doing? There's that many, like you said right at the beginning of this conversation, it's an AI arms race. How can we have any sway in it whatsoever?
Well, I think what that was referring to is more about the role of PR professionals advising clients or their own organizations, if they're in-house, about the reputational implications of the use and deployment of AI by those organizations. So I hear what you're saying. What is Sam Altman, the boss of OpenAI, going to go, God, just as that fantastic podcast with Chris Norton and Ockenden and Andrew Smith, they're so on the money. Quite right.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, welcome, Sam.
Yeah,
come on the pod.
Yeah, we plugged him in. Yeah, fair enough. That's highly improbable. But at the same time,
don't mince your words there, Andrew.
The AI industry of future course is reliant upon the rest of the world adopting that technology. So if we're on the advising end of our organizations and maybe somebody in senior management has got some bright idea to say, great, we can get rid of half the workforce and get AI to do it all for us. Whereas the PR will advise, well, if we do that, here's the likely kind of knock-on effect. It may seem like a wizard idea in the boardroom, but quite frankly, it will destroy the company. So let's. So I'm kind of painting a kind of slightly exaggerated picture here, but that's the point. I think there is absolutely a role for PR and comms professionals to play that advisory role to organizations about the reputational implications of all this stuff. Now, that puts a premium on PR professionals themselves having a level of understanding of the technology to allow them to make those kinds of valid, credible, and robust recommendations and advice. So I'm on that standpoint. I think it'd be wrong for us to kind of throw in the towel and say, well, what difference can we make? Because I think we can. I mean, individually, or it might be sort of small and incremental, but collectively, Well, and it's not just the PR sector. I mean, this is something that, without getting too grandiose about it, it affects every single person on the planet.
Oh yeah,
ultimately. So, yeah,
it's the biggest development since the wheel, is it not?
Andrew? You gave a quote about some bigwig at Google saying it's the biggest development since fire.
Yeah, so Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, obviously parent of Google, yeah, he said that AI is it's more important than fire or the wheel. Yeah, this is indeed the biggest thing that the humanity's ever come up with, and actually he said that a few years ago. I mean, this isn't a sort of recent quote. That's something that he said some years back. And I know at the time people went, "Oh, really? That seems a bit over the top." And to be fair, I think he's probably right.
Have you seen the interview with Mo Gawdat about AI? And he talks about the fact that he said that the machines could get so clever by 2037. He's saying they could be so clever that they in an ideal scenario, so we stop scaremongering, right? They've helped us get jobs, they've helped everything, but he said they might just become so intelligent that they just see us as insects and just head out into the stars, and because they've got no bio body, they've got no physiology, they're just electronic, and they're so super intelligent beings.
I've watched those videos, I've read those pieces by people with those kinds of views and opinions, and I always think, well, hang on a minute, that doesn't that sort of presuppose we're just going to let them get on with it? I mean, we're still here at the moment, and we I think we've still got plenty of time for us to put in necessary guardrails or decide that, well, hang on a minute, maybe GPT-20 is a step too far. So before we start racing off, creating that sort of super duper version of it, then let's maybe put the brakes on it. And there is a far more kind of involvement and consider it. Because again, things have moved so fast. I mean, governments are behind the curve. I mean, you take copyright as an example. I mean, copyright's a mess when it comes to generative AI. I mean, according to, I'm not a lawyer, but as I understand, current UK law, if I generate content with, ChatGPT or Midjourney or whatever, I own the copyright of the creative material. Fantastic. If I'm in America, I don't. If I'm in Europe, they're focused on where was it created. Well, where was it created? Is it the server that belongs to OpenAI? That could be in America, or I'm not, but if I was in Paris tomorrow, I create it on my laptop. Does that mean it's now subject to French copyright law? But the minute I go back to London, suddenly it's mine again. Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place.
The fascinating bit on that, I saw somebody else talking about that, and they were an artist, and they were saying, I create art, and my art's been used to train these machines to make pictures, like Midjourney, the one you were referencing is one example. Okay. But at the end of the day, aren't all artists taking their own impression of all other people, all that have ever been anyway? We're all, we've gone back to cave paintings or whatever. The copyright, they don't own the copyright. If, like you're saying there, if you generate that image, but then do you generate that image in the style of Salvador Dali, for instance?
Correct. And again, that is absolutely the argument that the AI companies are taking. They're taking the fair use route. They're saying, look, we're not copying you, but it's kind of providing, if you will, the inspiration to generate this new stuff. I mean, the US Copyright Office is saying that their current stance appears to be, well, can you copyright pure AI generated content? If I modify it in some way, does that suddenly change the game? But of course, they're not telling you by how much. If I take a Midjourney image and I'm in America and I change a couple of pixels, so, well, look, I've had some input to that. So suddenly, I get to copyright it because I've just amended a couple of pixels. Yeah. Or how much human input is required to turn it into something that isn't sort of purely AI generated? And yes, I mean, I'm not saying I've got no sympathy at all with artists and creatives of any kind. I mean, look at Getty Images. I mean, they're suing everybody, and they've got a point. All the AI image companies that have relentlessly crawled and accessed every image they can find from Getty to put into their model, and they didn't ask for permission to do it. They haven't paid Getty a penny, and they're using it to generate new AI-based content, and in some cases they are charging people to use those tools and services. So Getty going the legal route, you've got Shutterstock in exactly the same industry, and they've said there's no point fighting this. They're starting to do deals with the AI companies, saying, look, we're going to license our content to you and you just fill your boot and off you go. Adobe about a month ago made that really bold claim, didn't they? They said, look, we've got our own massive bank of copyright material to use from. We'll let you use that to generate content via AI. And they're saying currently, if you encounter any issues around copyright by doing so, we'll pay your legal fees. Whoa.
Wow.
Now, whether they'll continue to make that offer, I don't know. But I think that's clearly a very confident statement of intent from their perspective, that they think we're on pretty solid ground when it comes to this.
I could literally talk about this for another 3 hours, but we're almost out of time. So,
and we have got the question. We
have got the question for you.
I'll let you do it this week because I think I messed it up last week, didn't I?
Yeah. So we've covered AI today, but this show is all about fuck ups in people's careers and what they've learned from them. And so, Andrew, what's the biggest fuck up you've made in your career, and what did you learn from it? Gosh. This is always my favourite bit.
Yeah. God, there's plenty of them. I guess one that springs to mind very, very early in my career when I started out as a journalist. In fact, as I say, I began working for the Retail Newsagent magazine. And so for the first year as an editorial assistant, they didn't really let me out. And then finally one day they said, right, okay, I'm going to give you your first press conference to go to. And in fact, they did use the phrase, don't fuck it up, because it was the launch of the Today newspaper. It was 1986. This is a big deal. First national newspaper launch in, about 100 years. And there was little me from the Retail Newsagent sitting on a bus going off to Poyle near Heathrow to go to the printing press where Eddie Shah was going to push the button to kind of launch the presses. I'm sat there with the great and the good of Fleet Street thinking, I've been told don't come back unless you get an exclusive interview with Eddie Shah. And, here's the camera, go and get some good pictures. It's like, I've never taken a proper picture in my life. And it's like, what? So I'm on the bus, we get there, and the great and the good of Fleet Street surround the console where Eddie Shah is going to push the button to launch the press. I'm stuffed here. I can't get an interview. Where can I get a good picture? And I look behind me, and there was this huge gantry. I thought, that's a brilliant spot. I'll go up there. There's nobody up there. Brilliant. I'm going to get an amazing picture of Eddie Shah pushing the button. So I get up there, and he's just about to push the red button, and he looks up, and he sees me, and he says, I wouldn't stand there if I were you. And the whole of Fleet Street turns around and sees me. I was standing on the printing press. I would have become front page news for all the wrong reasons if he pushed the button. So there I was. And the whole of Fleet Street.
In full colour as well, I believe.
In full colour, absolutely. But the whole of Fleet Street, the whole lot of them just burst out laughing. And I thought, that's it. My career is finished. So I trudged down the steps going, I'm going to go back. I've failed. I've got no interview. I've got no picture. I've humiliated myself on my first day with the whole of bloody Fleet Street. But to his eternal credit, Eddie Shah sought me out. He said, you're new at this, aren't you? I'm like, yes. He said, come here. So he got to tip my hat to him. He gave me 5 minutes of his time. I got my interview. I got some shots with him. But that's because he proactively sought me out and obviously felt bloody sorry for me. But yeah, that was a colossal.
I tell you what, mate.
That was
but I bet he remembers you as well. He'll remember that, I bet. Which is quite an accolade when you've got so many people in the crowd.
Yeah. See, maybe I got a taste for PR, you see. It's like, how do you get attention? Well...
And it could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? Had you tripped and fallen back into the printing press.
Flat Stanley.
It could have been yes.
Flat Andrew.
Life could have been very different.
Brilliant.
But there you go.
Well, that was an excellent fuck up, Andrew. Thank you very much for that.
It was almost as good as our technical fuck up at the beginning.
So I think probably let's get you back. We'll probably get you back on the show in about a year, and there'll be whole new swathes of developments in AI. So let's make it a regular thing. That was absolutely fascinating.
I'll send my AI doppelganger next time, won't I? Because I'll have created a clone by then.
We'll put all the details of how to book. So, do you want to tell us a bit about you've got your workshops, don't you? Do you want to get your plug in for your workshops, and we'll put the link in the show notes?
Yeah, sure. I run AI PR workshops through both the CIPR and the PRCA. I do direct sort of training and consulting for those that want it. So yeah, I'm always available to help people, whether at agency side, in-house teams. There's clearly a huge demand in this area at the moment. But if you want to have a chat about what might be appropriate, sure, bring it on.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Andrew. Giving us your time. That's great. Honestly, fascinating. And I could do, like I say, we could do another hour or two on this because there's so much to talk about in terms of AI. But I think Will's right. I think we should have a reconvene in 25 shows time and get you on and talk about and find out how things have changed and how the fact that you've been replaced by an AI and you've just got all that's left is a digital beard.
That's right. Well, yes, as I say,
what a way to go! What a way to go!
Given what's happened over the last 7 or 8 months, but my mind boggles at what will happen in the coming 7 or 8 months. So in a year, let's just do it again, and let's see how much has changed.
So that was absolutely fascinating, wasn't it, Chris? I think you can't bury your head in the sand any longer, can you, when it comes to AI as a marketer?
No, I think, well, Andrew's got some fascinating takes. I mean, AI is fascinating, and there's lots of different opinions on what it's going to do to the world. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is up to you. It is going to take jobs, but what I've heard is it's going to take jobs. It's not the AI that's going to take the jobs. It's people using AI that are going to remove the tasks, which is what Andrew was saying too. So that bit was interesting to me. The other really interesting bit that I took out of that was the copyright discussion. That is he said a mess. It's a nightmare, copyright. Copyright in different countries is a nightmare, but the fact that people can't agree on who owns what and why.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other key outtake that I got from that was really there's no playbook for how marketers should use AI at the moment. And it's really just a case of getting involved in the platforms and discovering it yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And really finding out ways how it can streamline your operations, how it can support you creatively, how it can support your copywriting. We just need to figure it out ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, he spoke that in depth. I've got 20 questions here, and I got through two, and I'm not sure we got all the answers. So there's so much to cover with AI and using AI in marketing. There's tons of tools. I mean, he recommended that you should use ChatGPT 4. There's Bard, and then there's a few others. But we're using a couple of content marketing ones that basically ride on the success of that and plug into. So there is some really great tools out there, but just using the free one, if you're not doing anything, your staff should be using the free stuff just to test it for ideas, to test it on create, because the content's not brilliant. Like you'll know, Will, you've seen some of the content. The articles are on 4, they're miles better, but an article written by 3.5 feels a bit I don't know. It's not got that depth that a real good writer would have. It's sort of like the beginnings of a great article.
But then that's okay, isn't it? It should augment your writing. You know, as Andrew said, you should never treat that as the finished article. It's a starting point, which you
no pun intended,
which you would then finesse.
Yeah.
I think our listeners will probably be quite interested in hearing more about some of those practical applications of AI, particularly in comms and marketing. So we're actually running a podcast in a few months, aren't we, on AI in PR and marketing?
This is a podcast.
Sorry. We're actually running a webinar in a few months on AI's role in PR and social media, which is actually really going to dig into those practical applications. So how to use AI to generate scripts, how to use AI to generate ideas, how to use it in a copywriting context. So if you head to prohibitionpr.co.uk and then click our events section, you can actually register for that event. So make sure you don't miss out.
Yeah. I mean, tons to cover, lots to cover, and it's constantly changing. So I think we should renew this conversation once every 6 months. Like you said, once every year, but I'm at a year. To think that it only came out in October. I mean, that's just over half a year, and now it's already cleverer than Einstein. It's mental. It is mental when you think about that.
And just to conclude, I think Andrew spoke to me a few weeks ago about a really interesting application of AI, which is actually voice cloning. So in theory, you could ask AI to write you a script. You could then turn that into a video and you could actually clone your voice. So in theory, next episode of this podcast, we could actually do 100% with AI and we don't even need to turn up to the room.
It wouldn't be as good at the jokes as me and you, though, would it really?
Doubtful.
Thanks for tuning in to episode 4. These episodes are coming out every fortnight on a Tuesday. So the next episode, check your wherever you get your podcast from every Tuesday. We're also sending every version of this to our YouTube channel. So be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we love and want to see all your comments, and remember to tell us your biggest fuck up because they do make us laugh. Send them in, please, to sociallyua@prohibitionpr.co.uk. That's sociallyua@prohibitionpr.co.uk. Or send somebody else's in. We'll do anything for a laugh. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Socially Unacceptable. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Don't forget to follow us on social media, on Twitter and Instagram @ProhibitionPR. We would love to hear some of your career fuck-ups so we can share them on the show. For more information on the show, search Prohibition PR in your search engine and click on podcasts. Until next time, please keep pushing the boundaries and embracing the socially unacceptable.